Sailors once believed the sea was silent at night, but those who survived swore they heard singing, not the kind of song that drifts gently across the waves, but a voice that seemed to crawl directly into the mind. It promised warmth after endless cold, home after endless wandering, love after endless loneliness. Many ships changed course because of that voice. Few ever returned. Today we call them sirens, creatures of beauty and terror whose songs were said to lure sailors toward destruction. But were the sirens truly monsters? Or were they something far more tragic, bound forever to sing even as they watched men sail to their doom? Tonight, in Legends from the Dark Myth, we uncover the forgotten truth behind the sirens, the voices that ruled the sea and the silence they left behind. Long before ships crossed the open sea, before maps carried names for distant shores, the sirens were not creatures of horror. They were once companions of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest. In the bright fields of the mortal world, the sirens danced and sang beside her. Their voices were gentle, filled with laughter, woven with the sound of wind through tall grass. When Persephone was taken into the underworld, the sirens cried out for her return. They begged the gods for wings so they could search the skies and seas. Their wish was granted, but not in kindness. Feathers replaced their arms, claws replaced their hands. Their legs grew thin and bird-like, and their voices grew stronger than ever before. They were no longer meant to comfort. They were meant to call, cast upon lonely islands. Either sirens were given one task, to sing without rest, and to wait for those who passed by. Some legends say it was punishment, others say it was fate. But all agree on one truth. From that moment on, their voices could no longer bring life, only endings. The sirens did not scream. They did not roar like beasts. They sang. And their song did not speak of death. It spoke of everything a sailor longed for. It whispered of calm shores after endless storms, of warm firelight after cold nights at sea, of arms waiting on distant beaches. Each man heard something different. To the weary, the song promised rest. To the lonely, it promised love. To the proud, it promised glory and remembrance. The voice did not command, it invited. Ships turned gently toward the sound. Oars dipped into the water without fear. Men leaned forward, eyes wide, hearts open. By the time they saw the rocks beneath the waves, it was already too late. The islands of the sirens became graveyards of wood and bone. Broken hulls piled along the shores. Rusting weapons lay half buried in sand. Yet the sirens did not touch the sailors. They did not push ships into ruin. They only sang. And when the sea swallowed another crew, their voices rose again, sorrowful, beautiful, endless. Some myths say the sirens fed on the bodies of the dead. Others claim they simply watched, unable to stop the song that fate forced from their throats. They were both hunters and prisoners. Their power was their curse. Among all who sailed the ancient seas, one man chose to hear the song and live. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, was warned of the sirens by the sorceress Circe. She told him the truth. No man hears their song and remains unchanged. So Odysseus made a choice unlike any before him. He ordered his crew to fill their ears with wax. He commanded them not to listen, no matter what they heard. But for himself, he chose another path. He told his men to bind him tightly to the mast. And no matter how much he begged, they were never to untie him until the sirens' voices faded behind them. As his ship neared the island, the wind fell still. Then the singing began. The sirens called his name, not as strangers, but as if they had always known him. They spoke of his battles, of his cleverness, of the home he longed to see again. They promised knowledge of all things, of Troy, of gods, of the future yet unwritten. Odysseus wept, he shouted, he demanded to be freed. To him the ropes felt like cruelty. To his crew they were salvation. The ship passed the island, and slowly the voices faded. Odysseus survived, but he never forgot the song. And some say a part of him was forever left behind on that shore. What made the Sirens' voices so deadly was not magic alone. It was truth. They sang what men already carried inside them. Every fear, every hope, every memory of warmth and belonging. The song did not force the sailor forward. It removed his resistance. In a world of storms and monsters, the Sirens offered something far more dangerous: the promise of peace. Their power was not claws or poison. It was understanding. They knew what humans wanted most because they had once been close to them. They had loved Persephone. They had walked among mortals. They remembered what it meant to belong. And so their song became a mirror, reflecting the deepest desire of every listener. Those who followed it were not foolish. They were human. Not all stories end with ships and song. One legend says that when a man passed the Sirens and lived, their fate was sealed. They were bound to die if their voices failed to claim a soul. When Odysseus escaped them, some tales say the Sirens threw themselves into the sea, their song ending in silence. Other versions tell a different fate, that they remained on their island, singing forever, even when no ships came. A song with no audience, a beauty with no witness. Imagine their island at sunset. Feathers scattered in the wind, broken masts half buried in sand, and voices rising into empty skies. No applause, no answer, only echoes. The Sirens became symbols of something deeper than monsters of the sea. They became warnings of temptation without mercy, of desire without end, of voices that promise everything and take everything in return. The Sirens were not born to destroy, they were born to sing. Yet their voices became the most dangerous sound ever carried by the wind. They taught the ancient world that the greatest threats are not always claws or storms. Sometimes the deadliest danger is a promise that feels too true. Even today, their legend survives, not on distant islands, but in every whisper that pulls us away from reason, in every dream that tempts us to abandon the path ahead, in every voice that says, "Come closer," and forget the cost. Perhaps that is why their story endures, because the Sirens were never just creatures of myth. They were reflections of what happens when longing becomes louder than wisdom. And so their song still drifts across time, not through waves, but through the human heart.